Hello, good morning. EM3, strength and conditioning. Oh, it's actually not that bad out. Low here. Morning walking, morning talking on a Wednesday morning. Hope everyone's having a good week. Hope everyone's safe. Everyone's doing well. And let's make this Wednesday a good Wednesday. Whatever that means to you. Make it a good day. Whatever it is that's on your mind right now. If you're not up yet. If you are up. And if you're feeling some type of way. Reset. Let's make this a good day. Alright. So EM3 Strength and Conditioning. Headed there now. Don't forget we're right here on Main Street. In Northampton. Alright, cozy little corner. Right across the street from Rite Aid. And we're ready for you. If you're ready for us. Because, I don't know. I feel like we take a real different approach when it comes to strength training, fitness, losing weight, and, you know, just being overall more healthy. Because, I don't know. That's our focus. Our focus is more about improving you. Taking your mind off of the weight loss part. Taking your mind off of the stressful part of being fit, being healthier. For me, for instance, you know, the stressful part is like, what am I gonna eat? How much weight did I lose? How much muscle did I put on? How much fat did I lose? You know, things like that. I'm not saying not to worry about those things. What I'm saying is we try not to really push and focus on that part, especially in the beginning, because I feel like what happens with most people is that, you know, they say, well, tomorrow I'm going to start being healthier, better, fitter, you know, more productive. Anybody? Fitter, happier, healthier, more productive. It's a Radiohead thing. Anyway. So then what happens is people jump in right away. So tomorrow they eat healthy and they work out and then they walk and then they run and they do everything that you're supposed to do, but it's overwhelming because what happens is you have to deal with addiction and habit. So let's say you have a sedentary life and you finally make that decision to go and get healthier. You go get yourself a gym membership, you know, at your local gym. Okay. And you brave the gym and you go in there and you look at the machines, you read the little things and you do everything right. Then you come home and you eat right. And you end up kind of feeling like shit. Because, one, you probably did a little too much at the gym. The healthy food that you ate, you know, afterwards, great. Really good start. What's the problem? It's not going to satisfy you. Why? Because the food's messed up? No. Because you are in the habit of not eating that. Therefore, your body starts to say, thanks, man, cool, appreciate that. Wow, that hella chicken salad was really good, thanks, me. But I'm saying, can we get some of them cupcakes? I'm saying, can I get some of those potato chips? I'm saying, not because your body desires it, but because you have made it a habit to eat that stuff. Therefore, all the healthy habits that you try to start or try to, improve it's a little counterproductive because you haven't dealt with the addiction factor. You haven't dealt with that desire, that drive to eat, crappy food. But why do we like to eat crappy food? The reason we like to eat crappy food because it is very, very, very satisfying. Why? Well, mostly crappy food has a lot of sugar in it. And sugar, even though your body absolutely needs sugar, all right? That's why carbs are not bad for you. That's why sugar is not bad for you. A lot of sugar is. A lot of carbs is. But what's a lot of sugar? A lot of sugar is really not that much. Your body needs sugar, but it doesn't need sugar in everything it ingests. Everything we eat in the modern world, primarily this society, is loaded with sugar. All right, so for instance, it's like vitamin A isn't bad, but if you sit there and take, 10 pills of vitamin A every day, there's going to be issues. So, dealing with that addiction factor is the hardest part. And that's what makes most people fail. It's not the gym. Oh, I got so sore I couldn't walk for days. Shut the hell up. It'll pass. But that addiction part, the food part, that can be very, very tough. It's kind of like smoking. People always ask me, oh, no, I've been smoking for years and blah, 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 and I want to stop and I want to get healthy. So I'm going to stop smoking, blah, blah, blah. You know what I tell people? I said, no. You go ahead and keep smoking them cigarettes. Let's keep smoking them cigarettes for now. What you want to do is keep track of how much you're smoking. All right. What kind of cigarettes you're smoking. All right. And then from there, you can either start smoking the lighter version or start cutting down. But do not stop cold turkey. If you stop cold turkey, you are going to gain lots and lots of weight. So don't do it. If you're smoking, stay smoking. Start changing your smoking habit. Start changing your smoking habit, but also, more importantly, start changing your fitness habits. And honestly, for me, the best way to start is start with the physical. Changing your food habits is really tough. That is something you work on slowly. Again, there's an addiction factor. How am I going to do this? Sorry. I'm super strong. I should be able to do this. But there's an addiction factor, right? So that takes time. That takes meticulous, rearranging of your mind. All right? That's why people meal prep. Lo, why don't you meal prep? Everyone always says, oh, meal prepping. I'm just going to say it because this is my personal opinion. Okay? But fuck meal prepping. Fuck that shit. Fuck that. That shit. It doesn't work for me. And I'll tell you why. Because I am not a very detail-oriented individual. So when I think of stuff, I think of things a little more broadly, and then the details come in later. I have an issue with, I'm not going to say I'm not the most patient person. I'm not patient enough to meal prep. But meal prepping, it's just not my thing. Mostly because if I prep my meal in the beginning of the week and then Wednesday I'm supposed to eat this and that, yada, 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 I'm going to look at that and be like, nope, that's not what I want. Not only that, my meals are not I don't have a lot of variety in my diet. My diet is very simple. I keep it simple because it's easier to maintain. I don't have to entertain my palate. I'm just trying to eat some food. That's it. I'm just trying to eat some food. I don't care if it's some kind of souffle, mandalay, parfait. I don't care. All right. I eat what I eat, and I eat what I eat all the time, keeping it very, very simple. Some people like to eat like they have their own chef at home. Oh, I want to try this recipe. Oh, I want to try that recipe. Oh, I want to try that. Oh, let's try this, and that, and this. Perfect. If that's what you like, go for it. But for me, I do not meal prep. All right. You can talk the shit you want, yada, 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 but you're going to be over there. You won't say it to my face. So, moral of the story for this morning is, if you're going to make changes in your life, any change, it doesn't matter what it is, fitness, I don't know, you going to go for your PhD, or you're going to go for more education, because those are changes in your life, trust me. Lots and lots of time gets taken up. You have to deal with other factors other than the change itself. All right? With fitness, it's up here. There's a lot of stuff that goes on up here. Even when you're already into fitness, there's still a lot that goes on up there because you're always trying to tweak and tweak your system and make it better, make it more efficient. And addiction factors, and I'm not talking about drugs. That's kind of like a no-brainer when it comes to that. But when it comes to food, some people, maybe they don't realize that they're addicted to not the food itself, but the chemicals in the food, the junk in the food. That's why it's called junk food, because you get junk out of it. Wow. Who thought of that? Man, give that guy an award. Or a woman. Saying all inclusive over here. All inclusive. So, yeah. Remember, it's not just I'm gonna go work out, I'm gonna go get healthy. Nah, it's all right. What's my approach? And everyone's gonna approach it differently because they think differently. Everyone has a different system. And if you don't have a system at all, if you're just kind of flailing along in your life, then it's going to be very, very, very hard. So the first thing you need to do is develop a system. And the next thing you need to do is, within that system, figure out what you can change at first. All right? That's why I always say, no, not yesterday, because yesterday I came here very early. It was dark, so I couldn't make a video. I guess I could have, but I didn't. Lost my train of thought. Let's read. The healthier the food label says it is, the more junk that's in it. Yes, Penny is true. That is true. One of the biggest things they do, is, for instance, all this organic, natural stuff. Look at the labeling. Look at the difference between something that's quote unquote not organic and then something that is quote organic. The labeling's different. It looks, oh wow, look, it looks healthier. It looks, and it says this 100% blah 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 and 95% fat free, yada yada yada. But look deep into the nutrition facts. So the nutrition facts is funny because most people stop there. What you really need to do is what you really need to do is read the ingredients. The shorter the ingredients list, the best. Good morning, Evan. Happy Wednesday, brother. The shorter the list, the better. The longer the list, I mean, I don't know if you ever look at like a Twinkie or a Crimpet or something like that. And you look at the ingredients and it's like, wow, like a paragraph. I can't even read through that. So, all right, small changes, guys. Small changes. Oh yeah, now I remember what I was saying. The other day I made a video about your goals, right? And you say, I want to lose 100 pounds, right? Well, at the bottom of your paper or document, whatever it is that you're using, your vision board. At the bottom, you put that final goal, 100 pounds. Very, very small, very small. Why? Why put it small? Because it's way in the distance. And when things are in the distance, they're very small. Right? Good. And then at the top, you're going to put the first thing you're going to do. Let's say, buy a pair of good sneakers. Boom. That's step one. Or even worse, go to XYZ Fitness, get a membership. Boom. Or research research EM3 strength and conditioning. Boom. You know what I mean? Things like that. Little steps. Everyone always forgets about crawling. Everyone always forgets about rolling around on the ground, figuring out how to roll over onto your belly so you can get up onto your all fours to start crawling, to get to the wall, to stand up and start walking. All right. Thank God kids don't pop out being able to run and walk and stuff. All right. So the same thing with you. You're not going to be able to just get up and start running into your fitness adventure. All right. Habits. Form those habits. Start small. Let those habits compound on top of each other. It is not easy. And you will fail. But failure is not failing. Failing is a lesson to be learned. Perspective. Your cup is half full, always. If you want to look at it, I mean, I like to say it's just fucking full all the time, right? But if you're in that, not sure, always make sure that your perspective is my cup is half full, not half empty. Because your perspective is what's going to guide your direction into your future self, into this future self that you're trying to make better than you are today. All right. And remember, it's about you. It's not about anybody else. It's about you. Like this. Take a look at yourself, a picture 10, 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Maybe not that far. But let's say 10, 15 years ago. Take a look at a picture of you. You know, and it's like, wow, damn, I look pretty good. Or I was doing really good. Why was I so against myself back then? You know what I mean? Like, for instance, it's kind of like all of us who work out. You know, we're always like, oh, and this, and now this, and I want to do this, and now this, and now this, and now this. And we're not necessarily happy with where we're at. But we're not necessarily happy with where we're at. So we keep going and try to improve. And there does come a point where you can't improve. You just have to maintain. You know what I mean? Usually age starts to put that into perspective. But there's nothing wrong with maintaining. You know what I'm saying? In order to maintain what you've gained, you have to work just as hard as you did to get that gain in order to maintain the gain. All right? Look, man, that's the best rap verse I ever dropped, y'all. So, woo-wee, put a beat behind it, sample it. So yeah, small steps, guys, ladies. Small steps, because if you try to just jump in, if you jump into the deep end, you don't know how to swim. And so yeah, you get in the whoops, my phone's about to die. So you get into the shallow end and you walk your way until your feet start floating, or unless if you don't want to get into the deep end, you stay where you're at. Correct? All right. So there it is, guys. Start small. Do not, whatever it is you're trying to do not just go in full force and tackle it. All right. Do your research, find your angle, get in. All right. Small changes, big goals. Write them very small at the bottom of your vision board. Very big, your smaller goals up top. And then every goal you keep writing smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So it looks like a reverse, an upside down pyramid. An upside down pyramid. All right? All right. EM3, strength and conditioning. Small starts. What is it? Fuck. It was from Prometheus. Something, small beginnings. Anyway. Start small. Compound what you do. Build on top of what you did before. And you will get to that final goal. But remember, your final goal is not a final goal. Once you get to that 100 pounds or whatever it is, now you have to figure out, now what? Now what? Or, I got my 100 pounds off, I'm going to maintain that. You got to figure out how to do that too. And we can show you how. EM3, start the conditioning. Your boy Low up in the house. My house. And that's it. Have a good Wednesday. My phone's going to die. But I'm not. I mean, I don't know. I hope not. But, yeah. Bam. Wednesday, EM3, start the conditioning. Main Street, right here, Northampton. Come by, say hi. I'll leave the link so y'all can set up I'll leave the link for your free session, and I'll leave the link for the boxing, and I'll leave the link for a call if you want to call us. And we can chit-chat about this and that. Dude, that's like verse number 2, bro. All right, y'all. Peace.